All right, next we're going to look at solving quadratics by factoring. So after linear equations, the next most common type of equation you're going to see is quadratics, and sometimes you see them as their own problem. Sometimes they pop up in a different problem you're trying to solve. We have three main methods: factoring, square roots, and quadratic formula. And I wrote them in this order because it's kind of the order that I do them in. If I can't factor it, I'll see if I can use square roots. If I can't do square roots, I'll see if I can use the quadratic formula. Well, you can use the quadratic formula. All right, so factoring, I should have a solid grasp on factoring. We've reviewed that. Hopefully you've practiced enough so you kind of have an idea of factoring. Of course, you have to be able to factoring to use the factoring method. All right, the thing we're going to do to factor is we get 0 on one side of the equation. Then we fully factor the other side. And then the reason this is useful is because we just set each individual factor, the smaller pieces, equal to 0. All right, so here's an example. X squared equals 12 minus x. All right, this is a quadratic. I'm going to try to solve it by factoring. So I'm going to move these two things to the other side by subtracting and adding. Right. Now I want to try to factor this. This is one I can do the shortcut method for, so I can just be able to factor this pretty quickly. And now that I have my two factors equal to 0, I break it up into two separate equations. So I have the x plus 4 part equal to 0 and the x minus 3 part equals 0. So the whole reason of factor is because you take this more complicated expression and make it into two simpler expressions. On the left, I just subtract 4. On the right, I add 3. That's just the process for solving by factoring. Really, the hard part of this is the factoring part. So if you're comfortable with factoring, this method should be straightforward. You're factoring, you're setting the pieces equal to 0. If you're not comfortable with factoring, that's the thing you have to practice before you even attempt to do this.